In this next series of videos, we're going to talk about finding measurements of circles. So the first example asks us to find the area of circle K in terms of pi. Okay, so let's talk about what this part means, in terms of pi. Okay, basically what that means is we're not going to put like 3.14 in our calculator and get a decimal answer. Okay, instead we're just going to write whatever else we get and pi. All right, so it says find the area of circle K in terms of pi. So remember, the area of a circle is going to be equal to pi times the radius squared. Okay. Now, something that's important to remember is that we always want to write our formula out first. Okay. We're always going to just write our formula out first. Okay. So let's look at what they actually give us here. Okay. So it looks like they actually show us in this particular picture that they show us a diameter, right? It's a segment that goes across the circle. Okay. And it goes through the center, right? So that's the diameter. Okay, and we have to remember that the radius is half of the diameter. Okay, so the radius here is actually going to be 3 inches instead of 6. So I'm just going to go ahead and write that the radius here is going to be 3 inches. Okay, and so now I'm just going to plug in the information that I know, right? So I'm going to say the area is going to be equal to pi times 3 squared. Okay, inches we could write. Okay, or square inches we should say, because we're doing area. Okay, so we know that 3 squared is 9. Okay, so we actually want pi to be after our other numbers. So we're going to write it like this, that the area is going to be equal to 9 pi square inches. Okay, so again, first example I think is pretty easy there. We just have to look and see what does the picture give us. They gave us a diameter, okay, and we want to make sure that we understand that the radius is just half of the diameter. Okay, so again, pretty simple one to start. Let's see if it gets more complicated here. Okay, the next one asks us to find the radius of circle J. I should say circle J there, so I apologize for that. I'm just going to go ahead and fix that. So find the radius of circle J if the circumference is 65x plus 14 pi meters. Okay, so let's maybe just start by drawing a quick circle. All right, let's see. Circle would be right here. Okay, it's not perfect, but it's fine. Okay, and then I'm just going to go back to my pen tool. I'm going to call this the center is J. Okay, it says the circumference here. I'm just going to kind of rewrite this. The circumference is equal to 65x plus 14 pi. Okay, meters, and we want to know the radius. Okay, so we want to know this part right here. All right, I'm just going to write the rest of this part in pen and just say, okay, radius equals what? Okay, so let's start by maybe writing out our formula for circumference, right? Since they gave us circumference, that seems like a good thing to do. Okay, we want to know the radius, so instead of using pi times diameter, I may as well use 2 pi r. So I'm going to say that the circumference is going to be equal to 2 times pi times our radius. Okay, now I'm going to plug in all the information that I know. Remember, I know the circumference can be represented by 65x plus 14 pi. Okay, and that's going to be equal to 2 pi r. Okay, now in this next step, remember, we're trying to get radius by itself. Okay, so what I'm actually going to do here is I'm going to divide both sides by 2 pi. Okay, and here's what's going to happen here. Okay, the pi over pi is just going to cancel, right? Because pi over pi will divide to 1. Okay, and then after that, what we can do is just divide both 65x and 14. We're going to divide both of those numbers here by 2. All right, so once we do that, 65x divided by 2 will give us 32.5x. Okay, and then 14 divided by 2 is going to give us 7. So we'll say plus 7. Okay, and that is going to be equal to, again, these will both cancel. They'll divide to 1, and that's going to be equal to our radius. Okay, so the final thing that we want to put here is we want to include parentheses and put our units. So I'm just going to say one final answer here. I'll say my radius is going to be equal to 32.5x plus 7, and we are working in meters. So this would be our final answer. Okay. In the next videos, we'll take a look at a couple other examples that are a little bit more challenging. So again, I strongly suggest that you watch those videos.